Hello, welcome back. Stephen here again, and this is our part 2 for our wait and notify simple NiFi flow. All right, so when we last left off, we had just finished making our drop flow, and that's all done. So let's go ahead and create our notify and then set up our notify and wait, and then finish getting this data into the tables. All right, so next thing we need is the notify. There it is right there. We're just going to put that right here. Going to connect the relationship for the success here. Somewhere about there. Okay, so how do I set these up? First, let's set up the notify. And that's going to be this one right here. We're going to say notify, drop, create flow complete. There's no failure, no success here. Scheduling is normal. And we need to set up a couple properties here. So first one is we're going to be utilizing for our release signal identifier so that it knows when to release, what property to look for. We're going to be utilizing the file name attribute. And we know that, oops, apply that real quick. So we know that this flow coming down here, we started off over here, right, with one flow file. We split it into 3. All of them have the same file name on them. And in that same flow file that just keeps passing through here, well, it's not the same one, right? We keep generating a new one with new content and a couple new attributes every time, but it's still passing through the original file name all the way through. So that'll be good there. That'll help us out. So let's go ahead and finish setting this one. And in this case, signal counter notify or signal counter name, I'm going to leave it at default. And then everything else is correct. So one thing we need to set up though is distributed cache services. So I don't have one in here. I need to get one set up. So I'll just go ahead and say create a new one. And we need to select what we're going to use. In this case, we are going to be using the built-in distributed map cache client service. So we'll select that one. We'll say create. Now let's go get that one set up. Configure it. And it needs a host name as well. In this case, the host name we're just going to use is going to be localhost. Leave the port alone, and we're good to go. Oh, this is just the client service, right? So that means we need a service for this as well. And that would be map, distributed map. There we go. So in this case, we want the distributed map cache server. So that should be this one. Nope. What's this one? Oh, wait, what am I? I'm down here. So distributed map cache server, right? So we want to allow or create that one. We will configure it. And for its settings, it's actually not that hard either. We're going to leave the port. We're going to leave the maximum cached entries alone. And then we're going to leave it on least frequently used for eviction strategy. And we really don't have to do anything here. Not for what we're doing, for example. We'll enable that one. So the server will start. And then we'll enable the other one. So now they should be talking to each other. Wait, we didn't get something here. Oh, wait, that's true. My demo that I showed you at the very beginning is already utilizing the same port. So we need to, normally you'll only have one of these running on a server. So what we want to do, even though it doesn't show up inside of here, there's one running at the root level. Or no, inside of that other process group, which is why we don't see it. So what we want to do real quick is quickly change this. Let's go 47558. And hopefully that should be available. We'll turn that on. Okay, that's not a new error. Timestamps don't match. So it looks like we're okay. And refresh again. We're at 2130. Nothing new, so it looks like we're okay. All right, so that's using our distributed map cache client servers that we set up. So let's go ahead and configure our weight. Now for the weight, there's a couple things we need to do different in here, or set up for property wise. First thing is we need our release signal identifier set up and configured. So they're going to release on the same attribute, right? It says, look at these flow files I have in my weight area. They check their attribute file name, see if they match what the notify has for what it's updated on. And then target signal count, one, we'll leave that alone. We'll just set this up to default. We're good here. Okay, so weight buffer count. The weight buffer count, we want to specify the maximum number of incoming flow files that can be buffered and checked whether they can move forward. And we'll just bump this up a little bit. And then we have a releasable flow file count, so how many we want to release at once when we take a look at it. I'm going to do 10, even though we only have 3 we're waiting for. There is an expiration duration you can set up if you'd like. You need to configure distributed map cache source so we know where to check to see if the value has been updated. For the key file name. So basically, we created that distributed map cache server, right? And that is it's a key value server. And what we're going to do is this weight is going to be checking for the key file name on whether it is available yet. Oops, almost knocked my water over. And it's going to be looking for the value to get updated there. And then the notify is going to update that value with the file name from the same one we're passing through. So the reason we're using file name right now is that we can, every time we rerun this, the flow file, the original flow file will get a different file name, which gets passed through, right? So we're always using a unique one that gets updated or that gets changed. So that means we can run this as many times as we want, and this will only release when the brand new file name is sent. All right, did I finish that one? I'm going to say, so you have two options here. There is a wait relationship here where flow files just wait in there. In this case, though, I'm going to just keep it in the upstream. So keep an upstream connection. There we go. I think we're good. So that means they'll just sit here instead of me like taking this off and adding a wait and then just looping them through that way. I just let them hold right here. All right, so those two are done. I got to terminate the extra relationships. We're not going to deal with expired, not dealing with failures, not dealing with wait. Oh yeah, we haven't set up success yet. All right, so if that's successful, then what we want to do next is send it on its way. Let those flow files go through. So next processor we're going to be using is an update attribute. We're going to push this through here, take the success relationship, and let's just go like this. Actually, this is pretty far out there too. All right, so the success will go through here. And what I'm going to do here is update the update attributes because I need them for my Cassandra put. And we're going to be adding these attributes so that it knows the key space and namespace, right? So we can create our key space. And our key space will look something like journal dot, and then the attribute we created earlier, source host name. Oops, wrong one. All right, let's write to me journal double quote. Yeah, it looks correct. Okay, so there we go. We have that. Our table is actually the same. And I could have just used one if I wanted to, but there might be instances where you might actually have two different ones. All right, so we're good there. We just have to set up the next part, and that is the execute SQL record. And we create that relationship next. Oh, there we go. Now I got a little bit of room I don't need, or I have not enough room. Move that over, keep things looking good. Much easier to read them. I've seen some really bad looking flows before. Or they're operational flows, but it's so hard to follow along with what's really going on. You spend like hours just trying to clean everything up. Okay, so we'll update the attributes, basically create them because we don't have them. This will be our query on host name. Scheduling, we'll just do this on the primary node. We'll select our MySQL server. And we need a query that we're going to be using. So let's go ahead and paste that in there. So all this is doing is running our query, and it has a where hostname equals the source hostname, which is generated all the way back here, right? When we created this evaluate JSON path. Now, yep, so we're good there. So we have that hostname. That's what we're going to be looking up on. So if we take a peek at it, we have that in there. That's what we're using in our where statement, or inside of our SQL statement. That's what we're using for our where condition. So we only get that group in that feed. All right. So, and the other thing is when we did the update over here, we gave this, so when one flow file passes through, it's actually going to get its key space and table set up based off of whatever that source host name is as well. So it means all three flow files will get a different key space and table attribute created from that's very specific to them. So this is what's going to allow us to insert the records that we generate or query here into their own tables. Going back here, there's another thing we want to take a look at. So say this was a huge amount of data, right? Now, what we're going to be doing is, because we're putting this in Cassandra, we're going to be doing one flow per row, or one flow file per row. But the other thing is, we're going to change our output batch. If this was a huge table I was pulling out of, we could run out of memory waiting for the query to finish executing and then transferring data over to us. And we could run out of memory. And we kind of want to create those flow files before that happens. So one way to control that and have control over it is to use the output batch size. So that way, if you say you have 2 million records in the query or in that table and you're querying all those out at once, you might actually run out of JVM memory inside of your heap to store that while you're waiting for those to come over before you write all those flow files. And because during that period, that data is being streamed over to your host machine, but inside of Nifi, they're being stored in memory until they're written as flow files, and they don't get written until the end of that execution. Well, this lets you change that. With the output batch file or batch size, we can say, you know what, start writing flow files as soon as we have 1,000 rows. So write individual flow files. In this case, that's what we're saying, write one flow file, one row. That makes sense, right way. When we get 1,000 rows, write the 1,000 flow files. That's what we're going to end up doing here. And this will keep us from running out of memory. And let's manage it. All right, so we're good there. The next part we need is our put Cassandra record. We'll select that. Create the relationship we need. On success, we need to terminate our failure. We're not going to use it here. Oh, forgot to set the writer up too. So going back into here real quick, where is it? There it is. Record set writer, JSON, all done. We're good to go. Now we have our put Cassandra record. And this one, we are going to insert into host names, host name tables. Let's do that. We're not going to have a failure, success. Doesn't matter. in this case, and then we can configure our Cassandra session provider for our provider. Our key space is going to be the attribute key space. And then our table name is going to be the attribute table. There we go. So that's where we're using those two that we just created. Insert is just fine. No update key needed here. Set required. We're good to go. Our reader is going to be our JSON tree reader. Batch size, let it batch them up into 100 at a time. Serial logged, we're done. This is configured. All right, so everything seems to be configured. We need to run it and see if we come across any problems. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll take it step by step for this first run. Everything looks okay. All right, so let's zoom in here. And the first thing we should do is we already got our three flow files now from last time where we executed our query to get the distinct host names. We split that using a split record. And then we're going to create our attributes. Let's make sure we got that. So we should have our source attribute one. Where to go? There it is, source host name. There it is. So we're good there. Now what we should get here with the route is we should get one over here and three over here. If it routes correctly, we do. We got one, which is that very specific host name we were asking for. And I can get away with that because I know my host names are always the same. All right. And then we have the three over here as well. So those three are still going over there. Here's all of our drop and creates. Now, the reason this is going to be important for setting up as a wait notify is the last thing I want is to run them all through here. And if I didn't have the wait here, then they would all process, right? But there'd be some timing for this. And then they'd start coming over here, querying. And if I didn't have this wait to wait for this side to complete first, well, then I'd be trying to put data into tables that may not exist or the old tables. So it just turned into a mess, right? So this lets me make sure that this side is done before we process this side. That is the whole purpose of this. So let's go ahead and let it drop and create all these tables. So turn that one on. We can see we're waiting. There's one. Give it a second. There you go. It's already finished creating. There you go. Let's push it on the next one. Flow file just keeps on going. There you go. Success, right? We can go ahead and look at that. You can see it still has the same file name, 800. We'll take a look over here. Is that the same file name? 800. We're good. All right, so what we should have is we let this one run. Should have been letting it run the entire time. So we can see the wait is processing these flow files. It just keeps on processing, right? It keeps on checking them, and it just keeps on going in and out. Or it doesn't let anything out, but it just holds them in the upstream queue, right? So that's working perfectly. Things aren't flowing through. We'll go ahead and turn on our notify now. Now we're ready. What we should get is three flow files pushing on down the flow. Let that go. Instantly, we have three flow files moving over. So the wait notify worked exactly as it was intended. And then we have our update attribute. That worked. Perfect. We have our query. And let that go. You can see where we got 13,000 pretty quickly there. But it's still moving, creating batches of 1,000 at a time. It just happens to be quick at getting that data. But yes, that does work. All right, so let's go ahead and empty all of our queues. All right, everything is set up and ready to run. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off. I have everything running down below. We just need to start the very first query again, and then we can get data flowing into our tables. We can confirm things are working the way we intended them to, and we should be good. So let's go ahead and start this one. Things are going where we have three over here. We can see we have three waiting. We have one flowing through here. It's already halfway done. It's going to be done in just a second here. We can refresh, and not quite, but almost there. Refresh again. There you go. So that's done. The first flow file is being queried against right now, against the database. We already have flow files coming in, being generated, plopped into their queue here. Things are going to the standard tables. So let's go ahead and check out the Cassandra side and see what that looks like inside of tables. So jump into dbeaver. Here we are in dbeaver. And we can see we have our Cassandra, we're connected to our Cassandra database. We're inside of our key space of JRNL for journal. And then we have our 3 tables here for each one. We can go ahead and start querying the first one here. We can see it already has data. Good news is we only have the host name field only matches the table that we're working with. So that's exactly what we intended on. Check the second one where we have data coming in for it as well. And then the third one is empty. So that is because we haven't finished processing data yet for the other 2. And we're still querying the last one as well. So this is exactly what I was looking for. Setting it up so that we could have 3 tables and take the data from the source table that was mixed data, bring it out, put them into their own table for some other purpose that might be utilized later down the road. But yeah, it looks like we're doing a pretty good job here. Still, last one's not ready yet because it's still processing through here. But shouldn't be too much longer, I think. Let's just give it a little bit of time so we can see a couple in there maybe. Looks like that one's, okay, there we go. So that one's running right now for the last table, or the last host name. So we should have some data here very soon. We'll go ahead and check, see if it's maybe populated yet. There we go. So all 3 are getting data just into their tables only for that host name. So grab the data from a mixed table, sorted it all out, and now we're putting them into their own tables. Exactly what I was looking for this data flow. Let's go ahead and jump back over. But there you go. That's our completed data flow. Things are running nice and smoothly here. And that is a simple wait notify. You can use them. You can use the wait and notify in many other ways as well, based off a counter. So basically, you can trigger different ways depending on what you're looking for, and get away with a couple of different good use cases for how to use those too. But here's a nice simple one demonstrating that you can do it and you can make it work for you. Well, I hope you enjoy these videos. If so, don't forget to leave a like and comment down below on what you thought about it. And if you haven't had the chance yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and support the channel. Talk to you next time.